Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Armchair Athletes live stream. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I'm not going to be on here tomorrow. I'll probably post a couple shorts for the Start 2 Sit 1 series that I'll promote in a second. But happy Thanksgiving. I'm very thankful for all 264 of you. This channel has grown a lot. I've been able to help a lot of you out. So let's just get this thing started. All right, it's our Week 12 Waiver Wire Pickups video. My name is Corey. This is Armchair Athletes, and this is where I do plenty of fantasy analyses. Basically, I am doing your homework. I'm doing case studies, and I'm answering all of your fantasy questions in the comment section below. So I'll be giving my waiver wire pickups, and then at the end of the video, it's going to open up as a live Q&A related to fantasy football. So be ready for that as well. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms. Those links are in the description. And also make sure you check out the Start 2 Sit 1 YouTube short series that we have going on. Quarterbacks and running backs are up. I posted those a couple of hours ago. So 2 quarterbacks you should start and 1 you should sit. Same applies for the running backs. Wide receivers and tight ends will be up tomorrow. I'll do my best to make sure they are not related to the Thursday games because that's going to give you like a little to no time at all, depending on when those videos go up. And lastly, if you are confident in your sports research, as confident as I am, make sure you join Underdog Fantasy by hitting that link in the description. Use promo code Corey0410, so CORY0410, to get your deposit matched dollar for dollar up to $100. What does that mean, guys? If you want to bet the over or under on something and you throw 20 bucks in through that promo code, you're going to end up with 40. If you throw 30 in, you'll get 60, 50 and you'll get 100, 100 in, you'll have 200 to work with from the beginning. It is a great app that allows you to guess those overs and unders, and it also gives you constant fantasy updates. There's a whole tab just dedicated to injury updates. Did somebody get cut? Melvin Gordon, right? Or Darrell Henderson, which we'll be talking about today. So obviously be smart with your money. I understand gambling addiction is very serious. I do set apart a small amount of money for the month, and I don't go beyond it. So that's just a suggestion of mine. Many different ways to make sure you contain it. But yes, Corey0410, we've got a partnership with Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code, and you will get your deposit matched dollar for dollar. So let's get this Thanksgiving stream going here. Without further ado, let's go through 6 waiver wire pickup suggestions, and then as per usual at the end, we will go through any of your fantasy football related questions at the end. I will acknowledge them throughout if I can. Otherwise, just wait till the end. This won't take too long. Let's start out at the quarterback position. We've got Mr. Jimmy Garoppolo. He has been absolutely phenomenal. Jimmy Garoppolo just putting on a show. 4 touchdowns against the Arizona Cardinals. But I want to look at his long term. I want to look at what he has done over the course of the last few weeks. Jimmy Garoppolo, so we've got the 4 touchdowns against the Arizona Cardinals, obviously. But if you look, 4 of his last 5 games have been multi-passing touchdown games. So he has not thrown a pick since October 23rd. We are literally at a month since then. Pretty impressive stuff by Jimmy G. He's had his production bolstered by the fact that Christian McCaffrey's drawing a lot of eyes from the defense. I'm a firm believer of that. His upcoming schedule is promising. He will face the secondary of the Saints this week, the Dolphins next week, the Seahawks, the Raiders, and then towards the end of the season, he will wrap it up against the Arizona Cardinals. He just put up 4 passing touchdowns on them already, so I like his chances against the Arizona Cardinals and those 4 other secondaries that I just named in the Saints, Dolphins, Seahawks, and Raiders. He is taking care of the football. He is getting more and more comfortable with utilizing a mix of Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. All eyes are on McCaffrey, as I said before, from a defensive perspective, so that's helping a lot too. He's been able to use Elijah Mitchell since coming back from that injury not too long ago. So big fan of Jimmy G. And I do want to apologize now that we're on the topic of quarterbacks. I was going off a report from Mr. E&R saying that Fields had a dislocated shoulder. That is not the case. Apparently it's extremely sore. That was supposed to put him on the injured reserve if it was actually dislocated. I don't think too many guys are playing through that. Some do. So he is actually questionable for this upcoming Sunday. So Justin Fields owners, don't toss him in the IR spot. Keep him around. Make sure we keep an eye on him, okay? I seriously think that Mr. Justin Fields needs to be watched. In all honesty, I thought he was out for a couple of weeks, judging by the reports I saw. If you look it up, there's plenty of articles about the confusion of the Justin Fields injury. So I just wanted to clear that up while we're on the topic of quarterbacks. Definitely something that is important when you talk about a high-producing quarterback like Justin Fields. I see Babjap in the chat. If you had a Patreon, I would definitely throw you a bone. You definitely helped this beginner out this season. Thank you, Babjap. Maybe I'll start one of those. I'm just doing the Underdog Fantasy promo because it's a way of me to give back to you as well. Yes, you're using my promo code, but if you use my promo code for Underdog Fantasy, you are getting your deposit matched. So if you toss, there's only like 6 or 7 states where it's not included or not allowed. If you toss 10 in, you get 10 back and you're working with 20. If you toss in 40, you get 40 back, you're working with 80. All the way up to 100, you can work with up to $200. Your money doubles, and you can just go off, like I said, don't go off the walls with it. There's many different resources for people who have gambling addictions if that becomes an issue for you. But BapChap, instead of doing a Patreon right now, and maybe I'll consider that down the road, I am doing the Underdog Fantasy Partnership because it's a way for you all to capitalize on a deposit by using my promo code. Let's go to the running back position. BapChap, if you have any questions about fantasy football as you're in this chat, make sure you pop those in ahead of these 3 Thanksgiving games that should be pretty entertaining to watch tomorrow. Let's go to the running back position. This name is all over the place. Rachaad White. He's more efficient. He's more healthy. He's younger, of course, than Leonard Fournette. Fournette's only 27 years old, but in running back years, that's up there, guys. Rachaad White is not blowing anybody's mind with 3.7 yards a carry, but he did take over against Seattle in Week 10 when Leonard Fournette left about halfway through the game due to injury. And here is what I want to talk about, the recency. Once again, we just did this with Jimmy G. 4 of his last 5 games, he has had a multi-passing touchdown game. I mean, my goodness. Over the course of the last 3 weeks, Rachaad White and Leonard Fournette are not close when we're talking about efficiency. Had to make sure I spelt that right up there. Not going to lie to you. Same thing I did with the Garoppolo. I'm like, yeah, 2 P's, 1 R. That's good to know. But White has significantly outperformed Fournette, as you can see on this full screen here on the ground, at 4.4 yards per carry over the course of the last 3 weeks, while Leonard Fournette is sitting at 3.2, and the lower 3 is not a place we want to be. This fulfills the productivity portion of our fantasy analysis sequence. Remember the 3 aspects we talk about, everybody. It is availability. Are they healthy? Leonard Fournette is questionable right now, still sore even coming off a bye week, which should be of concern in of itself. We also talk about opportunity. How many touches are they getting? How many looks are they getting? And then we talk about productivity. Well, Rachaad White is healthy. Rachaad White is productive. And it looks like if he can take over as the running back 1 this week, which it seems like things are trending that way, he will get the opportunity as well, and he'll fulfill all 3 categories that we love to look at when analyzing players from a fantasy football perspective. He had 22 rushes for 105 yards against Seattle. He, with his limited touches, has as many 100-yard rushing games as Leonard Fournette. Fournette did it in the beginning of the season against the Dallas Cowboys. Lucius, I see we've got you in here. Just doing a couple of waiver wire pickup suggestions for Week 12, and then I will run right through all those questions in the chat. So everybody, do not wait for me. Pop those in the chat, and I will get to them as soon as possible. The big sell with Leonard Fournette in fantasy was his pass-catching ability, but Rachaad White has 20 receptions for 135 yards despite not playing in the majority of snaps for any game until Week 10. What do I mean by that? Rachaad White did not play in 50% of snaps or more. So he was not out there for half the plays or more in any game until Week 10 when Leonard Fournette was out, and yet he's still been able to rack up 20 receptions. Pretty impressive considering the sample size for Rachaad White. You know he's younger. You know he's going to get more touches, and you know he's been more productive. And yes, the Buccaneers pass the ball more than anybody else. But if a backup running back has 20 receptions about halfway through the season, a little over halfway through the season, now we're hitting the 2/3 point, that tells you they are willing to get him involved in the passing game, that he has been capable. So I love the Rachaad White pickup. Not telling you to go start him, but I am telling you he should probably be on your team before somebody else grabs him. He is likely more valuable than the worst player on your bench. From running back to running back, I mean, we have Leonard Fournette dealing with injury, obviously, and being inefficient. Let's go to Latavius Murray, who is getting more action now because the guy who got cut, well, was not only inefficient, he had fumble issues. We're talking about Melvin Gordon. 5th fumble of the year happens up against the Raiders in a game where the Broncos end up losing in overtime. And here we are. So Latavius Murray, the running back one. We've got Kieran Williams to worry about as well. But this is pretty straightforward, folks, as Murray is the clear running back 1 after Melvin Gordon got cut for fumbling the ball that 5th time this season. I'm not in love with Latavius Murray. I'm going to preface that right now. He is 32 years old. In running back years, he should have been retired a little bit ago. And I also hate this Broncos offense more than most things in the football world. I just want to preface that. However, let's just look at the recency. Latavius Murray did get 21 touches and a touchdown last week. And I'm not just looking at recency. If you guys look at the archive video I have from about a month ago, 5 things that you should not do in fantasy football, one of them is recency bias. Oh, this guy got a lot of points last week. You should look at those things. You shouldn't just start somebody because they got 20 points last week. You need to go look why. Why did they get that? Well, Latavius Murray got all the touches because Melvin Gordon was not performing well and ended up getting waived. Well, Melvin Gordon's gone now. So Latavius Murray being the running back one on a team that still runs the ball 41% of the time, that's middle of the pack despite the fact they're a losing team. Typically, losing teams will go more throw heavy. That tells me, you know what, I think Latavius Murray is in a pretty good situation short term. So 21 touches and a touchdown last week. Maybe the 32-year-old doesn't replicate that, but he now gets to face a Panthers rush defense that has allowed 13 touchdowns on the ground. That is 6th highest in the NFL. At least have him in your lineup. Depending on the depth of your running back room, start him. I picked up Latavius Murray in 2 of my 4 leagues because he was available. ESPN's got him projected at 14.1 for standard PPR. Another thing, don't just rely on projections. I'm not sure he gets to that. I think he's in double-digit territory, and if he can get a touchdown, he's guaranteed for sure. He'll get many of those touches, and he was more productive than Melvin Gordon by a little bit at the age of 32. He also just doesn't fumble the ball, which helps. And it helps us as fantasy owners because we don't want to lose that extra 2 points. Super annoying when a guy has a relatively productive day, fumbles the ball, and drops you down too. Let's go to the wide receiver position, Darius Slayton. So Slayton is clear and away the guy outside for New York. Richie James is battling injury, another wide receiver in that wide receiving core. And Kadarius Toney has been gone for a couple of weeks now. He's battling injury over in Kansas City. Slayton is leading the team in targets with, get this, 38. Okay? So I'm not going to sit here and tell you to plug Darius Slayton in against that Dallas defense. And again, if you have any questions at all while you are joining this, pop them right in the chat, whether it's start, sit, should I grab somebody off waivers, what trade should I be making? Let me know in the comments and I'll get to you. Slayton is leading the team in targets with 38. Not a very satisfactory number when we talk about volume at the wide receiver position. This team passes the ball only 46% of the time, thus explaining that. So I don't see a huge amount of upside. He did perform exceptionally well with the 10 targets he was given last time this Giants team was out there. So I don't hate it. Keep in mind the Giants did lose to the Lions, so they had to go more pass heavy because they were working from behind, something that 7-3 team hasn't done very often this year. Nonetheless, I think Darius Slayton, if you're really shallow in the wide receiver spot, if you're in a dynasty league, of course, he's probably already taken in that case, but if you're in a 12 or 14 team league, this guy is a must pick up. 10, he can sit on your bench. 8-team league, you're probably not messing with him. Let's go to a tight end that I was actually talking a ton about 4 or 5 weeks ago. That is Juwan Johnson. I called him Juwan Howard, and somebody in the chat had called me out on it. So this is Juwan Johnson. With Michael Thomas being gone and Chris Olave getting each defense's attention, somebody has to be open. And my thought process with this is mainly pertaining to the fact that Juwan Johnson, believe it or not, is second on the New Orleans Saints in targets. Now, target usage is something I absolutely love to look at. If you guys have been watching the stream for a while, first, I appreciate it. But second, we talk about snap count percentage. How long are they out there? We also want to look at usage, and that is where target usage comes in, or target percentage. So if we've got Juwan Johnson there, second on the team in targets, that's something we have to be a big fan of. We've got 47 targets for Juwan Johnson behind Olave. Chris Olave leading that team in many categories when we're talking about receiving. Would probably be the offensive rookie of the year if it wasn't for Kenneth Walker III, and he still can be, because Walker III came in a few weeks in. But Juwan Johnson, 47 targets, 11 targets in the last 2 games. That is something we will take. Believe it or not, folks, he is tight end 8. He is under the radar at tight end 8, yet he is owned in less than 50% of fantasy football leagues, as most of these guys are. So Juwan Johnson, tight ends, they are typically running shorter routes and peeling off after throwing a block, naturally having a better catch percentage than most. So Juwan Johnson's catch percentage, as we can see here, is sitting at 66%, and he is second on the team in targets behind Chris Olave. He is quietly tight end 8, as I said before, in standard PPR. He is serving as a secondary or check down option on the Saints, but 11 targets in the last 2 games mean the volume is there. As you can tell, because he is the tight end 8, it doesn't take a whole lot to be the tight end 8. That doesn't mean we shouldn't go after him. He is a rare find. He could be included in a trade package. Or if you had a Dallas Goedert or a Zach Ertz, maybe you go scramble. You suffered last week and you go after this guy. I think it's definitely a smart option. I see we have Brian in the chat as well. Brian, I will get to you as soon as possible right after Lucius. Babchep, if you have any questions. Anybody else joining right now, my name is Corey. This is Fantasy Armchair Athletes. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm very thankful that you're here watching this live stream, and I'm trying to give you waiver wire pickup suggestions going into week 12 that you will be thankful for, that you should jump on, because it is Wednesday, so there's no waiver wait anymore. There's no first come, first serve in terms of, you're on the list. You just go and get them at this point. So it's actually very first come, first serve. Let's go to the last one. We're streaming a defense this week that I would almost never touch. This is the Kansas City Chiefs defense. As you can see on the lower third here, 10 sacks in the last 2 weeks. They do play the Los Angeles Rams this week, who have just shocked us all. Super Bowl champs of last year. They came out really flat even when they were at full health. Now they're not. A little bit on the Los Angeles Rams offense that this Chiefs defense will be taking. And we just want to stream defenses going up against very inferior offenses, right? Well, the Rams fit that mold. They are scoring less than 17 points per game. Cooper Kupp is obviously hurt. Matt Stafford is battling injury, so we may have the backup in. And Darrell Henderson just got cut because he sucked. Like, he was inefficient. It's just... So it's Cam Akers' backfield. Now that's another possible pickup if you want to go and get Cam Akers. Not a big fan of what he's done either. I mean, between him and Latavius Murray and Rachaad White, we are really talking about 3 running backs who are averaging less than 4 yards per carry that just got thrusted into the running back 1 role in hopes that with a larger sample size, they will succeed more. Only time will tell. At the very least, we'll get more usage out of them. So with the Chiefs, just a very, very weak matchup in the Rams. I think they can easily get a few sacks on the backup. Game's going to be moving a lot slower for somebody who usually is practicing with the second unit and now has to slot in against a Super Bowl contender in the Chiefs, whose defense, it's bend and sometimes break, but their offense puts up like 40, so it doesn't really matter, right? Only scenario where I would get a little worried is if the Chiefs go out there, throw 40 on the Rams, we get into garbage time, and all of a sudden the backup starts having some fun with the Chiefs backups, but who knows? So yeah, the opposition's up for the weakest offense of the year after winning the Super Bowl 9 months ago. And the last thing I want to keep hammering into your heads, because this is a buy video technically, I know it says Waiver Wire Pickups, is this. If you were on the live stream yesterday, I apologize because I talked about it. Who is the odd man out in this list? Red zone touches, Jamal Williams. Joe Mixon's a household name right now, especially after that 5-touchdown game. Austin Eckler is running back 1. Derrick Henry leads the league in rushing yards. Devin Singletary, didn't expect to see him up there. Kenneth Walker III. Nick Chubb, Dameon Pierce, Saquon Barkley, Travis Etienne, Miles Sanders. You get the point. The fact that Jamal Williams has more red zone touches than anybody else, yet he isn't a household name compared to Joe Mixon, compared to Austin Eckler. Why? Well, it's one reason. It's DeAndre Swift. It's the fact that DeAndre Swift is sitting there kind of just waiting to be used. Yes, he is more efficient than Jamal Williams. He's averaging in the ballpark of the high 5s or low 6s in terms of yards per carry, but Jamal Williams is averaging about 4 yards per carry and leads the league in touchdowns because of this stat. People are not going to value Jamal Williams at the same as they would Austin Eckler or Derrick Henry or even Joe Mixon, right? Or even Miles Sanders, to be honest with you. And that run-heavy offense. That is why you should give somebody who you feel fits this mold. How are people looking at Jamal Williams? He's way more value. He has way more value than he's being marketed at right now. That doesn't mean we should have to give up a top 5 wide receiver or a top 10 flex for him. Go out and see what you can get for him. I think Jamal Williams, if he is the running back 2 or 3 in somebody's lineup, you can go get him. Most people do not understand how productive this man is. He is not just touchdown reliant because he's getting lucky. He is getting the ball in the red zone more than anybody else, not named Joe Mixon, and they're tied. So that is my pitch. Trade for Jamal Williams if you can, okay? We've got Lucius in the chat, then Brian, and then Lucius again. Evening for the start sit. Can you pick 2? Okay. Travis Etienne, Ezekiel Elliott, Miles Sanders, or Devin Singletary. So we've got Singletary up there and Etienne in terms of red zone touches. Zeke, I don't love the situation right off the cuff, Lucius, because we do have Tony Pollard in there taking the majority of snaps if we look here. Appreciate you guys joining in on this stream the night before Thanksgiving. I'm very thankful for every single one of you coming on here. I put hours into this thing in terms of the research, the graphics, little scrolling bar at the bottom. I really try and make this thing look nice. I try and make this whole experience a very helpful one for all of you and your fantasy teams. So make sure you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe if you appreciate it. I appreciate all of you in this stream. That is for sure. Snap count percentage. We're looking at the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. So we have Zeke. We have Tony Pollard. Pollard significantly out-snapping Ezekiel Elliott. And we had this situation before, in all honesty. If we look at week 7, He was doing it to Zeke. Zeke got hurt for a bit, coming back. Both supposedly healthy. Tony Pollard, 54%. Zeke, 29%. It's his team. Malik Davis actually slotting in there at 18%, almost as much as Zeke, ironically enough. So I'm not a big fan of Zeke just from a usage perspective at all, really. So who are we looking at then? We have Travis Etienne, we have Miles Sanders, and we have Devin Singletary. Singletary obviously going up against that Lions front. Let's look at the strength of our opposition here. I know that Detroit is down a decent amount. Oh, they are, yeah, they are near the bottom. So Devin Singletary up there in red zone touches, as we just talked about before, if you look here. Devin Singletary actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th. Well, he'd be tied for 4th with Derrick Henry and Kenneth Walker III and Nick Chubb. Pretty good company with red zone touches, so he is getting his scoring opportunities. That's to say the very least, okay? So this is for Lucius again. So again, we're not going with Zeke. If we're looking at Devin Singletary, I really like the matchup there a ton. With a Lions team that is allowing 5.2 yards per carry and a guy that is getting more red zone touches than about 99% of the league. Let's go with Devin Singletary. Let's go. We're going to choose between Miles Sanders and Travis Etienne because I already ruled Zeke out due to low usage, okay? So Miles Sanders going up against the Packers front. You've got Rashawn Gary. You've got many others. And then Travis Etienne going up against the Ravens. Let's look at strength of opposition once more. These are both guys that are the feature backs, obviously. It's a more run-heavy scheme in Philadelphia, but that doesn't necessarily mean Miles Sanders gets the ball more. It more so means Jalen Hurts is taking off. They're using guys like Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, more than most teams would use a running back 2 or 3. Got Baltimore way up there, only allowing 4.1 a carry. And then obviously Miles Sanders going up against Green Bay all the way down here at 4.6. It's a run-heavy offense nonetheless. If we look at usage for Sanders, because it is a tough matchup for ETN. Sanders, if it's PPR, I definitely want to see how involved he is in the passing game. I know it's there, but it's not really there that often. Obviously, 1 reception, 2 receptions in the last 5 weeks. So we really need that touchdown from Mr. Miles Sanders. He gets volume. He does produce. Cross-reference this with Mr. Travis Etienne. And you guys will notice, I'm not just going to shoot from the hip unless I'm very sure of something. I want to make sure I back up a lot of what I am saying to you with research. I mean, this is very basic level stuff, just looking at overall usage. Mr. Sanders gets the nod there. What entices me about Travis Etienne is the constant involvement in the pass. And it doesn't look like much, but this is an extra 4 points, an extra 5 points, an extra 4 points, an extra 1.5, an extra 4 points. It is against the Ravens. And look, game script-wise, the Ravens are 7-3. The Jags really struggle on defense. I could see the Jags operating from behind a lot and Trevor having to go throw it down the field. So I'm going to go Devin Singletary and Miles Sanders. I think run script or game script-wise, the Eagles have a better shot at winning that matchup over the Packers than the Jaguars do over the Ravens, so they could end up running it more. They're a run-heavy team anyway, top 5 in the league in terms of run usage. So let's go Miles Sanders, and let's go Devin Singletary. So we'll leave the first 2 out. I could see you wanting to slot ETN in there, and I wouldn't blame you. I would really get away from Zeke, just off the pure fact that, well, he is going up against a decent defense in the Giants. His usage is not going to be there anymore. He is going to be the running back 2. They don't have it as the running back 2 in the depth chart quite yet in some of the reports I'm looking at, but nonetheless, yeah, right? It seems like Tony Pollard's taken over. Brian Pereira says, although I'm 6-5, which is not bad, Brian, 4 of those losses have been under 10 points. That's just how it is, man. The fact you're that close to being 10-1 shows you've got a strong unit and some crappy luck. Should I start exploring options with upgrading players or just ride it out with who I have? We've got CeeDee Lamb, Chris Olave, A.J. Brown, George Pickens. I would say your best 2 out of those would be A.J. Brown and CeeDee Lamb, even though it is a run-heavy offense in Philadelphia. CeeDee Lamb, obviously the decisive one over there in Dallas, getting plenty of usage. Chris Olave, pretty consistent. You could bind Olave and Pickens and try and go for like somebody maybe even above Godwin. I'd say you'd be able to give somebody above Godwin, but, you know, people are stingy with trades sometimes if you want to do that. Brian, otherwise, I think CeeDee Lamb, Chris Olave, A.J. Brown, and George Pickens. Look, you're probably going to use 3 of them. If you slot one of those into the flex, you're not missing much. You could take somebody from your bench, scoop them with Pickens, and try and go get a Mike Evans, try and go get an Allen Lazard. You know, somebody who's getting usage might not be on the best team, but is on a throw-heavy offense nonetheless. You could try and go get a Christian Kirk. He is top 10 in wide receiver rankings right now, despite the fact nobody's talking about him. So if you wanted to go that route, you could do that. Otherwise, 6 and 5 is not a bad place to be at, Brian. I know you want to make that push and you want to get eager, but you don't want to get so eager that you're giving up the depth of your wide receiving core. So maybe put Pickens with somebody on your bench. I really don't want to take 2 of those out because you have a potential flex spot if you do Lamb, Brown, and then you slot Olave/Pickens in there, depending on the matchup. Pickens is enticing because A, because Claypool's gone, so it's just him, Freiermuth, and Deontay Johnson. But B, it's a throw-heavy offense nonetheless because Kenny Pickett's learning. They're letting him rip it. They're giving him the keys to the offense because there's not much at stake, but also they lose a ton. So you're just going to have to throw the ball a ton in the second half when you're down multiple possessions. I'd go Pickens and somebody on the bench, Brian, and try and upgrade from there. Maybe targets could be Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, or Christian Kirk. If you notice, I'm getting guys who are high up in rankings but low on the radar. We're not seeing their names pop up a whole lot. Okay. Lucius, let's go back to you. Seems like I have in a few leagues here because you rank these 3 for this week. Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook, or Aaron Jones. Thanks for the help as usual. No problem, Lucius. So we've got Richard, Mr. Curly Wolf, Mikey, and Adam in here. All of you, make sure that you drop a like and subscribe. We're going to be here for a while trying to help all of you out, putting as much research-based information in front of you as we possibly can heading into Week 12 so you can get that dub heading into your playoffs, which are probably in... Let me know, folks. Are they in week 16, week 15, week 14, right? Like, I know some leagues that say you're in an 8-team or a 10-team or a 12-team league and 4 make it. It's 2 weeks per round, so if that's the case, it would be weeks 15 through 18. Let me know when your playoffs start so we can kind of see where the stakes are at. But I'm here to help all of you out, so make sure you drop a like, make sure you subscribe. Grinded out a lot of research for you. Had some really good picks for waiver wire pickups. For those of you dropping in late, it was Jimmy Garoppolo, Rashad White, Latavius Murray, Darius Slayton, Juwan Johnson, and the Chiefs defense going up against a battered and not productive Rams offense. Poor Sean McVay over there. So we're on Lucius's here. We're ranking Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook, and Aaron Jones. You know, again, Zeke with the limited amount of usage. If we go here to the snap count percentage, I'm not sure I would really have too much confidence in anybody. And maybe he's just coming back from the injury. Maybe it'll be more towards the half and half mark. But Tony Pollard's been way more productive than him. Got to ask ourselves how confident we really are in that. Dallas 10-point favorites now over the Giants, despite the fact both teams are 7-3. Obviously, Dallas hosting a more established team. People are still shocked the Giants are even good. So then we're also working with Aaron Jones and Dalvin Cook, Dalvin Cook going up against one of the toughest run defenses and defenses in general in the Patriots. The Patriots have not allowed a touchdown in each of the last 2 weeks, which is kind of horrifying. So I think that'll be a pretty close game, balanced attack. I couldn't see the Vikings really going out there and blowing out Bill Belichick's squad. Maybe they do. Maybe they're hungry after getting absolutely embarrassed by the Cowboys. But who really knows? So ranking Zeke, Dalvin Cook, and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones going up against the Eagles. You've got some tough matchups here. I'm not going to lie to you, man. Dalvin Cook's got to get involved in the passing game if he's going to have any productivity. Aaron Jones is going to probably be in a losing game script, so you got to hope that the Eagles don't blow out the Packers. Otherwise, the Packers will have to go pass heavy. We're going to look for the guy who's most involved in the pass here because they've all got really tough matchups. And Aaron Jones is part. That's right. He is questionable. We know Jones kind of has that split role with A.J. Dillon, but with how low A.J. Dillon's productivity has been this year, it's pretty much Aaron Jones' backfield, and A.J. Dillon's just along for the ride. Just slotting up this last one, and then we've got Dalvin Cook. We've got 3 tough matchups, so we're probably just going to have to analyze these guys straight up as the tiebreaker. I mean, Dalvin Cook has just been dynamic. Let's get everything parallel here just because I'm like that. All right, here we go. So obviously not nearly as productive, not getting the usage. Touchdowns are the only place we really would nod towards Ezekiel Elliott not being 3rd out of 3 here. Zeke probably has the easiest matchup against the Giants because Dalvin's got to go up against the Patriots. And Aaron Jones has to go up against the Eagles. But the Eagles do have a weak run defense. So here's my thing, okay? I'm going to go Aaron Jones number 1 because the Eagles do have a weak run defense if we look at yards per carry allowed. Your hope watching this game is going to have to be that the Packers stay in this game or stick with the run no matter what. There's not many teams out there outside of like the Bears, I would say the Eagles, but they don't really lose, who are going to stray or who are going to stay with the run despite being down a lot. The Eagles are all the way, I just passed them, down here. 4.6 yards a carry, they're bottom 10 in the league. It's about one of their only Achilles heels is that run defense. Okay, so Aaron Jones is going to be able to attack that. And with Aaron Jones having, 6 receptions last week, that's an extra 8 points right there. That's pretty cute, right? So that's what we want to see. We want to see a close contest. If they're down way too much, again, the Packers don't really get blown out. I guess the closest thing you could reference here is either this Jets matchup or the Vikings. That's when he only had 8 touches. Jets, he only had 12. That's when you're going to see somebody get phased out of the game plan because when you have a steep uphill climb, you're not going to run it up the middle. The Packers aren't that stubborn. You need this to be a close game. However, the formula to beat the Eagles is going to be through the run. So if Aaron Jones can get it going early, this is for Lucius, it's going to snowball. It's going to snowball. If the Packers can stay in the game and Aaron Jones can get it going early, he's going to continue to get the ball. A, because he's doing well. And B, because the game script will make sense for so. If they're down 14-0 early, you're going to start to see a more throw-heavy scheme. The Packers abandon the run pretty quickly. So let's go Aaron Jones. Dalvin Cook up against the Patriots. It's going to be a tough matchup. This Viking squad is hungry. I think it's going to be a competitive matchup, so balance-wise and game script-wise, I think it'll be a mostly balanced approach. I don't see the Vikings getting blown out here. They could lose it. I mean, it's a very tough opponent when we talk about, of course, when we talk about the Patriots, but I'm going to say we go Aaron Jones, then we'll go Dalvin Cook, and then we'll go Zeke in that limited role. So Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook, and then Zeke for you, Lucius. Richard Hernandez, I think it's my first time seeing you here. I could be wrong, but if so, welcome. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. We are live streaming 2 to 3 times a week. We're up to 4 this week. So kind of depending on the fantasy news and the overall occurrences around the NFL, that's going to dictate how much we it's going to dictate how much we live stream, but I also put YouTube shorts up pretty much every day. So, Richard, we've got full PPR. We are choosing between Tyler Boyd and Jacoby Myers. Let's look at the Jamar Chase timetable. Pretty sure we don't get him back quite yet. This was that first week where we were supposed to start looking at him. 4 weeks out going, hey, is this the week he comes back? Questionable right now. Limited participant in practice on Wednesday. Oh, and we got to make this decision now because Jacoby Myers is playing tomorrow. Okay, so we know Jamar Chase is questionable. Always good to check depth charts when you can in these different situations too, guys. I know a couple hours ago it probably looked the same. Yeah, same thing. Joe Mixon questionable and Jamar Chase questionable. You just want to make sure, if there's more guys around them who aren't going to be playing as a result, a bigger portion of that target share pool is going to go to a certain player. Obviously, Tyler Boyd's been filling in as that wide receiver 2 behind Mr. T. Higgins with Jamar Chase out. Not a big fan of the production last week. Pull that up on the screen for you. 2 out of 7 targets were hauled in. So again, not too big of a fan of that. And then, of course, Mr. T. Higgins, or not T. Higgins, I'm sorry, Tyler Boyd. Going up against the Titans defense that allows a lot through the air, and then Jacoby Myers very similarly so, going up against a Vikings team that, well, as we saw not too long ago, can give up plenty of yards and points. So what we got to ask ourselves here, because we are digging kind of deep, is, who's got the bigger role? And off the cuff, I want to say it is Jacoby Myers, but I could be wrong. So let's see. There we go. So Jamar out. Obviously, Tyler Boyd with the 56 targets so far. It's a more run-oriented approach here. Jacoby Myers, the fill-in wide receiver one. It was going to be Devontae Parker, but he obviously hasn't been hurt. Or he hasn't been playing. He has been hurt. Very high catch rate for Jacoby Myers, which is super encouraging for me, especially with that revolving door. That's not so much revolving anymore. There was about a 2-week drama period where we were wondering about whether or not Bailey Zappi would be the guy taking snaps going forward. So we've got the high target usage, 24 in the last 3 weeks. This is going to average out to 8 targets in the last 3 weeks with Tyler Boyd. It is more of the same. It's going to depend on Mr. Jamar Chase and when he comes back in. But even without Jamar Chase, we're averaging 6 targets a game to 8 targets a game in Jacoby Myers. Let's cross-reference this with the fact. So we're looking at the Titans and the Vikings secondaries. How much are they allowing through the air? And they are right next to each other. So we pretty much got a tiebreaker here. So this is a wash. They're both allowing about the same amount through the air. Fantasy-wise, that's going to help you a decent amount on both ends. T. Higgins getting more volume. Excuse me, Tyler Boyd and Jacoby Myers, literally 1 target apart. Jacoby Myers has the better catch rate. And Tyler Boyd may be taking a hit in production with Jamar Chase coming in. I'm going to say we go with Jacoby Myers in what should be a pretty balanced game. I see 2 scenarios. I see the Vikings coming out angry and winning by a decent amount, or I see it being a close game. Either way, that's not going to force the Patriots to abandon the pass. Jacoby Myers is their number 1 guy, one of the best catch rates with the appropriate sample size in the league. Let's go Jacoby Myers. For Richard Hernandez. Hope that helped, Richard. Mr. Curly Wolf, who do I add, James Cook or Cam Akers? Need rest of season value and primarily a savior for bye week 14. Okay, if we're looking at 14, we got to see who those guys play against. James Cook on the Bills is going to go up against the Jets. That's not optimal. And Cam Akers, the running back 1 for the slot-in running back 1 for the Rams now. Going up against the Raiders, which is actually pretty decent. I am stuck between 2 rocks and a hard place here because the situation with Cam Akers is he kind of didn't earn his running back 1 role. He pretty much lost it to Darrell Henderson, and then Darrell Henderson was so bad he got cut. Kind of shocked they didn't cut both of them, but then they wouldn't really have anybody left. James Cook is much more efficient, but he takes a less significant role, and Devin Singletary just had a great day. So if we look, I really think James Cook could be a starting running back in the NFL. You guys can clip this in the next week or two. Yeah, don't clip that. In the next year or two, he got 5.8 yards a carry. It's a small sample size. He did get 11 touches on the ground. Not too involved in the passing game, but it's a small sample size nonetheless. 14 yards per reception is pretty enticing, but it's heavily skewed by this. Never, ever, ever having more than 15 touches in a game. And at least with Cam Akers, we know that he'll probably get 15 touches in a game. And if this team gets blown out like I think they will on paper, maybe that's not the case. But Cam Akers getting double. Look at this. Cam Akers has 76 rushing attempts for 237 yards. James Cook has, 32 less rushing attempts, but he has more yards and the same amount of touchdowns. Maybe I might change my mind here. Oh, man. The Bills are starting to lean more on the run. They were one of the only teams in the league that would pass the ball up like 4 possessions. Now it's kind of just, I guess it's game to game. Oh, man. So for week 14 then, yeah, Bills against the Jets. I don't know how much they want to use everybody. Okay. So it's going to be more usage for Cam Akers. I think we go with Cam Akers right now for week 14. I want to add James Cook because he's more productive, but Cam Akers has a more significant role. If we look at the Bills, they are a pass-heavy offense. This is for Mr. Curly Wolf. There's already debate out there about how good Devin Singletary really is. Then he had a good week last week. How good he is fantasy-wise because he's not getting used a whole lot. Cam Akers is going to have a more significant role, and against the Raiders, he should be able to make some magic. You could always try one out on the bench, just see how they're performing, and then swap them out. But I would go Cam Akers for that Week 14 matchup right now because I'll take somebody facing the Raiders' run defense over somebody facing the Jets' run defense almost any day of the week. Mikey, welcome, welcome, welcome. Is this a steal? Mike Williams and Juju Smith-Schuster for Kenneth Walker. I'd say it's pretty even because Mike Williams is now battling injury again. But when Mike Williams plays, he gets the volume, he gets the production. He is that red zone target. Now it seems like Joshua Palmer is the wide receiver one because he's the only one who could stay healthy. you're just dropping in, my name is Corey. This is Armchair Athletes. We are doing your fantasy football homework ahead of Thanksgiving, and I am very thankful that you are here. So hopefully you're thankful for any fantasy advice I can give you. And that leads you to drop a like and subscribe. I'd be very thankful for that. Trying to get to 300 ASAP. Kenneth Walker. Okay, so we got a guy who's getting about 20 to 25 touches. Man, Rashad Penny, even though it was a small sample size, he was averaging 6 yards a carry before he got hurt. And Juju Smith-Schuster's had that primary role. Let's go there. No, I should say secondary to Travis Kelce, but he's been the primary pass catcher, wide receiver. But he is battling injury as well. Let's look at our options here. Oh, what have I done? I clicked on an ad. Oh, dear. There we go. So Juju Smith-Schuster obviously getting a decent amount of usage. The catch rate is up there. He's up there with Travis Kelce with touchdowns. That's all Travis Kelce. Red zone targets is primarily in his direction. That's leading to those touchdowns. But he had a couple nice long plays against the Chargers. Has a 4-touchdown game earlier this year. Kenneth Walker III getting about 20-something touches over the course of the last couple of weeks. Mike Williams, obviously been hurt. He's getting about 5. If we look large scale, Juju Smith-Schuster hurt. I think the side getting Kenneth Walker III just due to the sheer health. Mike Williams and Juju are both hurt. So if you're trying to get, who was this? Mikey, if you are trying to get Kenneth Walker, this might not be the best time in terms of that person because they're going to see the injury button up on Juju Smith-Schuster and Mike Williams. I think if both were healthy, you'd definitely get him. If one was healthy, you'd definitely get him. They're both nursing an injury right now. Whether or not they're going to play this week is yet to be seen. It would be a steal for you. I'm just not sure you're going to be able to pull it off. You may have to throw something else in there. Either replace them or do a 3-for-1. Not a big fan of 3-for-1s. A lot of people, and I'm not saying these guys are garbage. A lot of people will put like 4 garbage players together and they'll try and get Justin Jefferson out of it. And I'm like, how does that help someone at all? You have 4 guys who are going to score 7 points, so they're taking up more roster spots and they're averaging less. So don't do that. I would probably swap out Mike Williams for somebody because he's had more injury issues. You can justify Juju. He's been doing very well in that pass-heavy offense. Adam, welcome to the stream, my guy. Adam, we are talking about dropping Deontay Johnson for Jameson Williams. I'm not sure I'd sell out on Jameson Williams. Before he plays a football game, you know what I mean? Like, coming off the injury. A serious injury he had in the knee. We have Amon St. Brown being a ball hawk in the wide receiving core. We have Khalif Raymond. We have Josh Reynolds. We have DeAndre Swift going out and mainly being a pass catcher, not getting too much volume out of the backfield. I could see dropping some people. I'm not sure Deontay Johnson would be one. It's still going to be a throw-heavy offense. Yeah, Johnson's healthy and everything. I was just making sure he didn't have like a freak accident or anything. Yeah, if you're talking about Deontay Johnson, I'm not sure I would drop him. Yeah, I don't think I would. Still got a lot of upside. You've got a guy who's he is the primary target right now on that team, and then it goes Pickens and then Freiermuth. Those two kind of switch between 2 and 3. But it's been Deontay Johnson. Even with Claypool there, it was Deontay Johnson. So I'm not sure I'd drop him for Jameson Williams, Adam. Mikey asking, who should I start at flex, Keenan Allen or DK Metcalf? If we look at the matchups for Week 12, Keenan going up against the Cardinals, and Mr. DK Metcalf going up against the Raiders, one of the worst secondaries in the league. I'm probably going to go Metcalf because Joshua Palmer's been getting a decent amount of targets too. Until that big reception, it was like 30, 40-plus yards. Keenan was kind of having a moderate day. DK Metcalf, we know what we're getting with him. And if we look here, oh, I was looking for something else. Oh, there we go. Yeah, DK getting the most targets on that team, and then you have Keenan Allen, who's just been slotted in and out for injury. I think it's hit or miss. Yes, it's a weak secondary in the Cardinals, but you got a guy in Austin Eckler who's running back one for a reason. He's really involved in the passing game. You have Joshua Palmer. If ever it comes back, we have that. Maybe Mike Williams comes back. I think he'll be out for 2 to 3 weeks, though, with the high ankle sprain. I'm going to go with DK Metcalf. He's got a great matchup against a Raiders team that allows plenty of yards through the air and plenty of points in general. So, Mikey, let's go DK over Keenan. Booze Lizard. Start 3 between Ezekiel Elliott, Latavius Murray, Dameon Pierce, Travis Etienne. Half-point PPR. So we're going to focus more on volume on the ground. If they're not a pass catcher, we don't care too much. Love the Latavius Murray matchup against the Panthers. I'm going to start him off the cuff. Zeke, we're going to put in our back pocket because he is the running back 2 on a Dallas team that might end up running the ball a decent amount. I mean, they're 10-point favorites, so the bettors certainly think so. Dameon Pierce, coming off of a rough week. Going up against the Dolphins defense, okay. And you just got to wonder how much are the Texans going to rely on him, especially with Davis Mills possibly not playing. If they're down 2, 3, 4, 5 possessions. Travis Etienne having a relatively, I mean, it's mid-tier. It's low 4s in terms of yards per carry allowed by the Ravens. So Travis Etienne, he's going to get the volume, though, and he's active out in the he's active in terms of getting catches. We don't really care about that. We just want to get sheer volume. I'm going to go Etienne. I'm going to go Latavius Murray, and I'm going to bite the bullet with Pierce because Zeke just isn't going to get enough playing time, and ultimately we need usage. We need those yards on the ground. Tony Pollard, I think, has taken over as the running back 1. We're kind of seeing a lot of transitions, right? Obviously, Latavius Murray was thrusted into that role because Melvin Gordon was cut. Same with Cam Akers, with Darrell Henderson being waived. But Ezekiel Elliott, I mean, he was hurt for a bit, and Tony Pollard has just been more efficient. Looks like Zeke has kind of lost a step. He's still looked okay, but Tony Pollard has been playing out of his mind. So because it's half-point PPR especially, we're definitely going to emphasize just pure usage, which Dameon Pierce, Travis Etienne, and Latavius Murray should get. So I hope that helps, Booze Lizard. Lucius, last question for me tonight. Don't worry about it, man. Let's see what we got. Thanks for all of your help. Anytime. For a defense, I have been holding on to the Pats. With their upcoming schedule, should I start streaming? Options would be Panthers or Colts. Thank you, no problem. Yeah, I know the Patriots are going through kind of a rough stretch in these next few games. It starts this week against the Vikings offense. Excuse me, I got something in my eye here. Yeah, it goes Bills and then Cardinals, Raiders, Bengals, Dolphins, Bills. Okay, so yeah, other than the Cardinals and the Raiders, we're kind of scared about the production there. You know, the Pats have stood pretty strong. The Colts, I don't hate. The Colts have a phenomenal secondary, and they're playing in a weak AFC South. And we never really want to have 2 defenses just chilling. Colts go up against the Steelers this week, then the Cowboys, I'd be scared of that. The Vikings, I'd be scared of that. The Chargers can't stay healthy. The Giants and the Texans. Colts don't have a significantly easier schedule. I would maybe hold on to the Patriots. The Panthers, I wouldn't trust a whole lot, to be honest with you. It's pretty much just going to be teams dominating in time of possession, and eventually that defense is going to give. Jamal Williams and A.J. Brown for Saquon Barkley. This is Danesh, I believe. I apologize if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Half-point PPR. Okay, let's keep that in mind. Jamal Williams leading the league in red zone touches. We all know how I feel about that. I've ranted about that. Probably on 3 consecutive streams now. A.J. Brown, the wide receiver 1 in a run-heavy offense that loves to run the ball, especially when they're up. And they are 9-1, so that scenario happens a lot for Saquon. Jamal Williams has a lot of value, man. I'm wondering what your running back room looks like right now, but mainly want to look at A.J. Brown. We know what Saquon can do. Not to say we don't know what A.J. Brown can do, but let's see here. So with Mr. A.J. Brown, obviously the primary target, but Devontae Smith up there pretty strong. He actually has more receptions because the catch rate's way better. A.J. Brown gets a lot more go up and get it balls. As a result, we have uncatchable balls because Jalen Hurts over or underthrows him a bit. Devontae Smith obviously not going for as many big plays, and you could see that here. A.J. Brown getting way more yards despite the fact he has less receptions by 3. He's that red zone guy. I think that's fair. You know, Jamal Williams leads the league in red zone touches. He's up there with Joe Mixon. That's a pretty attractive stat from a fantasy football perspective. You have the most usage of any back in the league. Nobody has more usage inside the 20, and that's why he has those 12 touchdowns on the ground. I think you could get more for that package. I'm not going to lie. You'll definitely get Saquon. I mean, who do you get from there, right? Like Derrick Henry or Austin Eckler. I guess that's kind of your top three right now. Eckler, Saquon, and Henry. Half PPR. Okay, half PPR with Brown. That makes Saquon a little more valuable relative to the rest of it. Yeah, I would go with that, Danish. Or Danish. Michael, we got you asking start to non-PPR, so strictly focusing on volume. Michael Pittman, Amari Cooper, T. Higgins, and Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, second week coming off the injury, had a pretty nice day if we take a closer look at it. Five receptions for 94 yards. Didn't need the touchdown to get nearly 15 points. Something we're definitely a fan of. The volume, the productivity. It's a bruised up wide receiving core, so picking 2 out of this. Amari Cooper's been playing out of his mind. I'm not going to lie to you. That's a team that's 3-7, so you know they're going to throw the ball a lot game script-wise. Against the Buccaneers secondary will be a tough task nonetheless. Colts going to be playing on primetime against the Steelers. And then T. Higgins maybe seeing a chunk of his production reduced with the possibility of Jamar Chase coming back. He's going against the Titans. Nonetheless, T. Higgins is going up against the Titans team. It has allowed nearly 270 yards through the air. T. Higgins is going to be one of our starts. Then we're between Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, and Michael Pittman. Pittman still working with Matt Ryan now that he is back. Oof. You know, Allen against the Cardinals looks pretty good to me. Pittman against the Steelers looks decent. Cooper's got the toughest matchup against the Bucks. Cooper is by far the best player on this list. Fantasy-wise right now, let's actually go Keenan Allen. Had a nice productive day, and if we look at the revolving door that is the Chargers wide receiving core, it's like we just spin a wheel, land on 2, and that's who's hurt this week. It's actually not that bad this time. So Mike Williams and Gerald Everett. Guyton has been on the IR for a while. Let's go Keenan Allen against the Cardinals team that just got cooked. 4 touchdowns by Jimmy G. He hasn't done that very often in his career. We'll just put it that way. So, yeah, we will go T. Higgins and Keenan Allen based on the matchups. Michael, hope that helps. Jelly of the month, good to see you back once again. Is Elijah Moore? Yeah, no Zach Wilson. That is right. It's going to be Mike White. Or Jameson Williams worth a rest of season stash. I'd have to drop Eagles defense. I grabbed Kansas City as a stream when I lost out for Burks on waivers PPR. Good to have a backup. Nice. Out of those two, Elijah Moore wasn't getting used much anyway, so maybe I see what you're saying. Mike White starts to spread the ball around a little bit more. With Elijah Moore, we have to ask, the few times he's gotten the ball this year, how has he done? And he hasn't gotten it much. It's so tough to gauge. This man just doesn't get any looks. Got Zach Wilson. That was a mess. What do you guys think about that? He's not taking any accountability for the fact he only put up 3 points, and the Jets defense did all that they possibly could. Gave up 10 and still lost the game, and now he's benched. That was interesting. Yeah, Elijah Moore has had literally 1 good week, and I wouldn't even call it good. His best week was week 1. 5 receptions for 49 yards. I'm probably going to go Jameson Williams. We saw what he could do in college. We're completely going off a college look, which is kind of a risk, but I think we have more upside as opposed to Elijah Moore. It's a run-heavy offense revolving door quarterback. I'm probably going Jameson Williams, to be honest with you, for a rest of season stash. Otherwise, you keep the Eagles defense. I know you probably don't want 2 defenses, though, so let's go Jameson Williams. More upside. I trust Jared Goff a lot more than whoever's under center in a New York Jets uniform right now. Eric Figueroa, welcome. We've got which 3 wide receivers do I start this week? It's Amon St. Brown, Scary Terry, Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, and Michael Pittman. Gabe Davis, that big play wide receiver. We got to be careful with him. Against the Lions, though, I mean, that secondary is going to give up a lot of points. Michael Pittman going up against the Steelers. Christian Kirk facing a Ravens secondary that's very gettable. Terry McLaurin against the Falcons. And Amon St. Brown against the Bills. We're going to bench Amon-Ra out of these 5. We have so many good matchups. I love Scary Terry against the Falcons. I love Christian Kirk's matchup as well against the Ravens. I love Gabe Davis up against the Lions. Michael Pittman, we got the revolving door at quarterback. He's still been getting a decent amount of usage, though. If we look at consistently, right? 9.6, 9.7, 9.7. That's what we're looking at with Michael Pittman's usage, and that's something we definitely want to focus on. But I just think we have a much more attractive matchup when we talk about Scary Terry and what he has been doing as of late, getting to go up against that Falcons secondary. Christian Kirk obviously has been productive. He's wide receiver 9 right now, and he's going up against a Ravens secondary that's been giving up plenty of yards. And it is probably going to be a game script where we see a lot of passes out of the Jaguars down in that game to a much more talented and just better overall Ravens team. So, Eric, 3 out of those, we're going to leave out Amon-Ra and Pittman, meaning we are starting Scary Terry, Christian Kirk, and Gabe Davis. Usually not a big fan of Gabe Davis when we have those names around him, but because he is big play reliant, he's going up against a Lions team that can definitely give up some big plays. Let's go with it. Also picked up Hollywood Brown off the waivers. Nobody IR'd him. Hope people understood he was supposed to come back this year. He was not a season-ending injury, so good on you, Eric. Jacob Ander, I think it's your first time in this chat, so make sure you leave a like and subscribe, man. Let's look at your matchup. We have Devin Singletary or Antonio Gibson, PPR. That's enticing because Antonio Gibson gets a lot of looks in terms of just pass catches. Gets a lot of balls thrown his way. I mean, we get a free 6, 7, 8, 9 points per game alone just because of his involvement in the pass game. Yeah, if we look here for you, Jacob, thanks for sticking around. I take a little bit on these comments. I just want to be thorough, but I try and be as efficient as possible. Yeah, free 6 points against Houston, a free 4, a free 3. Yeah, okay, so that's against the Falcons. I think the Commanders have a pretty good shot at coming out on top there. He's definitely the preferred back over Brian Robinson. Not too efficient on the ground, 3.7 yards. Been a little more efficient as of late against the Houston Texans. You like to see that. Season high on the ground in terms of yardage, and he was getting close with receiving yards. He had that blow-up game at the beginning. That is just something we love to see. 7 receptions for a running back. And then Devin Singletary going up against the Lions. I think game script-wise, the Bills could win that by a decent amount, so he'll probably get some touches down the road. So let's just look at straight-up usage. We have Antonio Gibson getting 121 rushes. Singletary is going to be in that neighborhood. Bills have tapered off to a bit of a more balanced approach as of late. They just win a lot, too, so that kind of helps. It's very similar roles. Singletary's got him in yards. As a result, also yards per carry because he has less carries but more yards. And involvement in the passing game is probably going to be the tiebreaker here. He is right up there. 2 touchdowns and 284 yards. 1 touchdown and 218 yards. Devin Singletary going to get that garbage time against the Lions if it's a blowout. Not even garbage time, but they're just going to try and run the clock down. So Devin Singletary or Antonio Gibson. I'm going to go with the more productive back in a game where I think the Bills will win. So let's go Devin Singletary, Jacob. Hope that helps, man. For those of you watching right now, I just want to put this as a reminder. I put this about an hour ago at the beginning of this stream. We do have a partnership with Underdog Fantasy. So if you go into the description, we have a link, and then you click on that link and you type in Corey, CORY 0410. You can have your deposit match dollar for dollar, anywhere from $10 up to $100. So you put 2 in, boom. Or excuse me, you put 20 in, boom, you've got 40. You put 40 in, boom, you've got 80. 50 in, you've got 100. 100 in, you've got 200, and then it stops there. Obviously, be careful with your money. Be careful with gambling. Use those resources if you need them. But we do have a promo code in there that's going to allow your deposit to be matched up to $100. Okay? So meet Yeet, or meet the Yeet. Okay, I can't even read. I have Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, who's actually been doing really well. He's running back 20-something right now. I believe he's 24. He's had 2 very nice weeks of over 15 points in standard PPR. Joe Mixon, Christian McCaffrey, James Conner, Mike Evans, fighting a yawn. Travis Kelce and DeAndre Hopkins am I set for the playoffs in a 10-team PPR. Meet to Yeet. You got to tell me what your record is, my guy, so we can see what approach we're going with. But I'm assuming, I would guess you're 8-3, or 7-4. When you have a combo like Joe Mixon, Christian McCaffrey, you've got Mike Evans, you've got Travis Kelce, and you've got D-Hop, who's probably gotten you a couple of wins the last couple of weeks since he's come back. I like it a lot. You know, I was impatient with Jonathan Taylor until a couple weeks ago, but now we kind of just got to take what we have. Yeah. If I were to take anybody, you could package like a James Conner and maybe somebody on your bench, because James Conner is very inefficient. Meet the Yeet. It keeps throwing me off. Yards after contact isn't much. Looks like he's lost a step, even though he hasn't even been in the NFL that long. He's more of a power back. Things that just aren't very attractive from a fantasy football standpoint. 3.7 yards a carry. Yes, he's the running back one. Eno did okay when he filled in. Very touchdown reliant. He's 2 for 5 on getting in the double digits when he doesn't score a touchdown. Decently involved in the passing game with 24 receptions. It's somewhat enticing. Yeah, meet the Yeet. If you want to go after someone, I would say Connor. Otherwise, leave the rest of your team. Maybe you could stream a QB. I'm not the biggest fan of Daniel Jones. It's a run-heavy offense, but he is involved in that with his legs. So that's kind of where you get your upside. But yeah. Let's see. Ryan said, thanks, no problem, man. Eric, do I start Mostert over Swift? I also have James Cook, but I don't trust him as of now. Eric, we're not going to trust James Cook because he just doesn't get the usage. Simple as that. He's not going to get double-digit touches on a routine basis. He hasn't, and with Devin Singletary's recent performance, he won't. If we look at Singletary, I should have kept that tab up. That's all right. Also completely random, but those of you in the chat, what is your favorite Thanksgiving dish? I just want to know. Going into tomorrow, we've got a lot of things I'm excited for. I love stuffing. I love mac and cheese. Does that belong on the table? Let me know. But what is your favorite Thanksgiving dish? I feel like nobody says turkey. Everybody pulls something out. Mine is probably either stuffing or sweet potatoes with mashed potatoes, or sweet potatoes with marshmallows on top. That's probably my favorite. Devin Singletary's production is something that, you know, I don't think is going to allow James Cook to get more usage. Sorry, that was off topic, by the way. I'm just thinking about food. So this is for Eric. In terms of starting Raheem Mostert over Swift, Mostert, you know, he's splitting that backfield with Jeff Wilson right now, and that's kind of what worries me. It's your first time here. First off, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. But also, these are 3 aspects I've been telling everyone to focus on since day one. Availability, opportunity, and productivity. Okay? Keep that in mind when we are talking about Raheem Mostert. He is productive. He is available. Has his opportunity been reduced with Jeff Wilson here? I would say yes, because Raheem Mostert is in there for 28% of the time. Okay? When Jeff Wilson's in there for 61% of the time, and if we look at Jeff Wilson Jr.'s productivity over the course of just last week, okay? Let's keep it small. Let's keep it simple. He went off. 17 rushes, 119 yards in a split backfield. It was his best week. Okay, maybe that was it, by literally 1 yard, right? His best week yet. Doesn't have to be too involved in the passing game, but he'll get 2 and 3 here and there. So I'm not too big on Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert is available, meaning, you know, he's healthy. Raheem Mostert is producing well. 4.6 yards a carry. Never had anything wrong with him. He is actually fighting injury. I did not know that. But he's not getting the touches. 12 touches, that's cool. Those two were able to make it work last week perfectly, actually. We're looking at about 19 points for Raheem Mostert last week against the Browns in a game where that team absolutely blew their opponent out. Should I trust Mostert over Swift? They're both in the same spot, Eric. Swift, not as involved as well. He's more involved in the passing game. If we're talking about PPR, that's a little more enticing. Jamal Williams gets the most red zone touches in the league. So if we're going between Mostert and Swift, I'll put it this way, okay? Game script-wise, you're up a couple possessions late in the game. You're going to run the ball more to try and run the clock down. The Dolphins are going to run into that scenario more times than not. Then the Lions especially. The Lions are constantly working from behind. They are 4-6, making a little run here. Not going to get the NFC North with the way the Vikings have been playing. With the exception of that Cowboys game, I'm going to go Mostert over Swift because I feel like he will get some more opportunities. Still got 12 touches, and I'm like, it was a 39-17 game. That's kind of weird. That could happen again this week against that Lions team. Who knows? Brian says, thanks for the tip, Corey. I will try and go after Christian Kirk. Absolutely, Brian. Always happy to help you, my man. You are in here every stream. You're like my subscriber of the month, or I've been on here for 2 months now, so I really appreciate you a ton, man. Kevin Valentine, sit this week out, Lenny. Kind of hoping for the same because if we're going and getting Rachaad White, who I have as one of my waiver wire pickup suggestions right here, we want Lenny to sit out. He's been more productive. He's been way more productive, especially in the last couple of weeks when we talk about a yards per carry perspective. So I want Rachaad White to get all those carries, as many carries as possible, especially against the Browns team that struggled a lot. Brian says, sucks that I benched Olave while Brown had a down game. Yeah, Chris Olave had a down game a couple weeks ago, so people were starting to get baited by that. Brown did well the week before against the Bears, so it was just kind of that recency bias that a lot of people were probably dealing with, Brian. But Chris Olave is one of the most consistent guys week in and week out. You know, the thing with Mr. Amon St. Brown is he was battling some injury for a bit. And then came back in, and you've got some other pieces, and now you have Jameson Williams coming back. Chris Olave, even with Andy Dalton up there, he's going up against the 49ers this week. I don't know about that. But then again, they both got tough matchups because Brown's got to go up against the Bills. So Chris Olave having plenty more targets if we look here. I believe it was up in the 80s. Yeah, 83 targets for Chris Olave. And then Amon St. Brown. Keep popping those questions in the chat, folks. I get through them pretty quick. I want to make sure I help out as many of you as possible before Thanksgiving so you can just eat your way into a food coma stress-free tomorrow. Amon St. Brown, 78. So pretty close in terms of target usage. Amon St. Brown gets bigger clumps. Chris Olave is going to get you that consistent 7, 8, or 9. Olave with more yards, same amount of touchdowns, higher catch percentage going to Amon St. Brown. That's why he's kind of able to compete with them. But yeah, I mean, Chris Olave, I'd probably take over him just because of the target usage and the fact they're both the wide receiver one. They're both kind of in similar situations. They're bad teams who are used to being down, so they'll probably get the garbage time targets. Thank you for the advice. I'm 5-6, by the way. Dang, I faced some tough competition. That would make sense, man. If I go back up to your team, this is for me to eat. Where was that? Daniel Jones, JT, Mixon, CMC, James Conner, Mike Evans, Kelsey, and D-Hop. I mean, D-Hop, Kelsey, Mixon, CMC, those stand out to me as top players, and they are. Kevin says mac and cheese. Everyone, does mac and cheese belong on the Thanksgiving table? I'm just wondering here. Eric, should I offer Swift, Pittman, and Gabe Davis for Josh Jacobs? I just need a solid running back, too, and I have Eckler. Eckler and Jacobs would be a mean 1-2 punch. Swift, Pittman, and Gabe Davis. I would start with Swift and Pittman because if you look at the Raiders from a usage standpoint, and if you look at Josh Jacobs from a usage standpoint, you're not going to run the ball a ton when you're down. Excuse me, I'm just zipping this thing back up. You're not going to run the ball a ton when you're down. Jacobs has still been getting the usage, obviously. Jacobs is having a career year, by the way. If you just hopped in the stream and you have not been here before, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Like 80% of our viewers are not subscribed. I don't know why you wouldn't be. You're going to get that consistent content. You're going to get 2 to 3. This is my 4th this week. Live streams a week. You're going to get YouTube shorts on a daily basis. Josh Jacobs is volume king if we look at him here. 183 rushing attempts, only 2 have more. Backs it up with the yards. Has that many touchdowns. That's more than a solid running back too, my guy. This is for Eric Figueroa. Appreciate you reaching out, Eric. If you can get any benefit out of what I'm telling you right now and you want this on a consistent basis, make sure you leave a like, make sure you subscribe. And all of you, make sure you go into the description. Go to that link for Underdog Fantasy. You can guess the overs and unders if you like to do research on sports like me. Just type in Corey0410. So CORY0410. You can get your deposit matched dollar for dollar up to $100. So you get some free money on there to bet with, to play around with, and see if you can come out on top. Go over some player props at some point if you guys want. Swift, Pittman, and Gabe Davis for Josh Jacobs. Yeah, you'll probably have to offer all 3. If you've got enough wide receiver depth too, I mean, Pittman's going to get you some pretty consistent production. Gabe Davis, I'm throwing him around for trades too because he is so inconsistent. He's big play reliant. He's either going to have 3 receptions for like 102 yards or he'll have nothing. So, Eric, I think that's good as long as your wide receiver depth is there. It's Josh Jacobs and Austin Eckler. It's worth it, man. Swavey JP, welcome, my guy. We've got, hey, bro, I've got an offer, 9-2, 10-man PPR. First round buy secured. Good stuff. You are in a very good spot, I can see. Trade away Lamar, T. Higgins, and Jeff Wilson. I would receive Patrick Mahomes, Drake London, and Cordero Patterson. Trying to upgrade a QB. My team is Lamar Jackson and Trevor Lawrence. Running backs are Nick Chubb, Travis Etienne, Damian Pierce, Jeff Wilson, Elijah Mitchell. Wide receivers are Amon St. Brown, A.J. Brown, T. Higgins, and then Travis Kelce. Holy crap. No wonder you're 9-2. That's a very solid team. So you'd be upgrading at quarterback with Patrick Mahomes, but I can't really say you'd be upgrading anywhere else. And if that's the point of the trade, that's fine. You do have A.J. Brown and Amon St. Brown and T. Higgins. You'd be giving away Lamar, Higgins, and I would say probably your worst or your second worst. No, definitely your second worst because Elijah Mitchell's not getting nearly the usage that Jeff Wilson is. Lamar, T. Higgins, and Jeff Wilson. Drake London and Cordero. Cordero gets a decent amount of use. He had that kick return touchdown. That was fun for fantasy owners last week. Not for Bears fans like myself, but Cordero and Jeff Wilson. Cordero's in a run-heavy offense in Atlanta. They run the ball more than almost any other team outside of the Bears. So pretty much just taking a hit with Higgins to Drake London. On second thought, I think I like that trade more than I did to begin with. You're upgrading at quarterback by a bit. You're going to see a downtick when you're going from T. Higgins to Drake London. Yes, Drake London is the wide receiver 1, but that's a run-heavy team that doesn't get much going through the air to begin with. Cordero Patterson and Jeff Wilson. Say we go with it, Swavey. Don't try and make anything too outside of a lateral move. You don't want to help your opponents out. You got the first-round buy secured. You're sitting pretty right now. You're one of the few people who I would say doesn't need to look at trades right now. Even somebody who is like 7-4 trying to make a run at a first-round buy, I'd say, yeah, make some moves. 6-5, 5-6 trying to get in. Make some moves. 9-2. Don't go anything outside of that lateral approach where we're just trying to slightly upgrade. Because you don't want to give up too much to the field. You have Tyreek as well. Holy crap. Okay. Lamar, I'll get to that in a second. But Kevin Valentine, should I feel confident starting the Bills defense this week? The Bills defense against the Lions, I'd be pretty confident. Yes, it's a healthy Lions wide receiving core, but we've seen what the Bills can do. They struggled a little bit against the Vikings, but that is literally Justin freaking Jefferson, the best wide receiver out there. I would not be too worried, Kevin. I would start the Bills defense. Swavey says Lamar kind of worries me this year, not running as much. I know it's a lot to give up, but I'd have Mahomes, Kelce, stack. I also have Tyreek. Oh, you have Tyreek Hill, too. That is a solid team, Swavey. Seriously. Holy cow. So he's not running as much. I see what your point is with Lamar. It doesn't feel like Lamar is having a good year, but he's actually running the ball more efficiently than he has all year. Well, it seems like, where did that stat come from, right? 6.9 yards a carry is what Lamar is at right now. He's just been doing it for so long now. We're like, for so long, I mean 4 or 5 years, that we're thinking, okay, I'm used to this, right? If you look, about 10 attempts per game. That's where he's been. 150 attempts in 16 games. So we're basically looking with these 16 and 15. We just want to add a 0 at the end. So is he rushing it 160 times? No, he's a shade under 10. Is he rushing it 150 times? Yes, he ran it about 12 times a game. 150? Yes. 130? Yes. It's about 1 or 2 rushes. It's literally like 1 rush less per game, and he's more efficient. 6.9 yards a carry. That's a career high with what he did in 2019, which of course was the MVP season. He had 43 total touchdowns, which is crazy to me. Or should I try and get Michael Carter over one of London or Cordero? Not big on Michael Carter, if we're being honest. I was big on him his rookie year last year, but we're seeing him in that full role. Yes, it's a run-heavy offense. Now who knows what's going to happen with Mike White. Threw for under 300 yards when he came in for Zach Wilson last year. We just have to ask ourselves, like, what are the Jets right now? Is that an offense we should stay away from altogether? Probably. Not too impressed with Michael Carter. Not extremely productive on the ground here. He is pretty involved in the passing game. New England's one of the best defenses in the league, so he just wasn't able to get it going there. Buffalo, he did okay. New England before was pretty mid. He's had some pretty tough defensive matchups, so maybe I'll take back my statement there. But I wouldn't take Michael Carter over Cordero if we're talking about just productivity and overall usage. I think Cordero Patterson is there. James Robinson's still in that backfield too. He's not getting used as much, but let us see here. If you are just dropping into the stream, hello, my name is Corey. This is Armchair Athletes, and we are doing your fantasy football homework. Heading into week 12, we are about an hour and a half into this thing. We're going to keep going for a bit more to try and get all of your questions answered. Again, I'll never guarantee a win, but I'm going to put as much research-based information in front of you as possible to give you the best chance to win. I'm doing pretty well in my leagues. I've been doing pretty well ever since I took this research-based approach where I analyze players by availability, opportunity, and productivity. I'm 8-3, 7-4, 7-4, and 6-5 in my league. So it's working out for me. I've been able to help out a lot of you who are already subscribing. So if you're not subscribing already, what on earth are you doing? Make sure that you like this stream. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you get hooked up with the Underdog Fantasy promo code. Link in the description, CORY0410. It's just my name, followed by my birthday, and you'll get your deposit match dollar for dollar. We're comparing Cordero Patterson right now with Michael Carter. And there's not much to compare, man. What have I done? There we go. Michael Carter, 3.8 yards a carry. Cordero Patterson had some missed time. Less volume because he had the missed time. Doesn't matter. 5.3 yards a carry. More touchdowns. Had the kick return for a touchdown. Way more efficient on the ground. Getting those touches that we want him to. He's not... I mean, yes, he is splitting a role with Tyler Algier and a few others. But when he's healthy, he's going to get that 12, 15 range in terms of touches. And that's exactly what we'd like to see. So I'm going to go Cordero. If you're going to include somebody in that deal, Swavey, let's probably include Cordero. That's where we're at. All right. If anybody else has any questions here, otherwise I'm just going to keep going through. I can go through some different rankings. Maybe somebody you guys should go after in the waiver wire. Let's run to that right now. What to do with Zeke, man? probably trading Zeke away. That's what you're wondering. But yeah, Swavey, I would just go to Cordero. I would not try and get Carter over London or Cordero. London, even though he isn't a run-heavy offense, he's the number one option. Not a big fan of him, but I'm more of a fan of him than I would be a Michael Carter. Let's go to a 10-team league here and check out the waiver wire. I think I'm going to accept it. I hate giving Higgins and Jeff Wilson, but I would just love having Mahomes and have okay depth. Yeah, you do have more than okay depth. I would keep making those lateral moves and don't really go beyond it. So maybe you could sit with the team you have after this deal and just be good. Considering that's an offer you had, it looks like it's in the bag. You're just going to take it. That's fine. Jeff Wilson's got that split role, and T. Higgins has Jamar Chase coming in. So I think you're selling both high, okay? We'll just put it that way, and I think that's fine. We look at some flex options. Curtis Samuel's been doing pretty well. The primary guy is definitely scary, Terry McLaurin. Curtis Samuel has had a pretty good day. He's had a pretty good season, and then if we want to buy in low on somebody, well, he pretty much got so low that he hit the waiver wire. So, as I'm saying here, he does get pretty involved in the backfield as well, which is enticing. He kind of has that Deebo Samuel role in a less successful offense. Gus Edwards is an interesting one, owned in less than 50% of leagues. Is the primary back when he's healthy, but he just doesn't play. Melvin Gordon's a free agent. Let's not go after Melvin Gordon or Darrell Henderson Jr. Gordon has some upside in the passing game, but I wouldn't, people are waving him right now. I wouldn't be like, oh, look what this is. Yes, he had 3 double-digit performances in a row. Here's somebody I just don't understand, guys. Why is he still available? I think his production is actually going to take a hit in a couple weeks when Deshaun Watson comes back because he hasn't played in 2 years. 5 weeks in a row with double-digit performances. He is not touchdown reliant. He just got his first touchdown. He gets the volume. He produces. The yards per reception is what I love. He's a big play guy. 19.8, 20.3, 11.8, 18.5. DPJ is phenomenal. Let's go and get DPJ. And again, it is Wednesday. He is available in 60% of leagues, dang near. So let's go out and get him. We go up and down this list. Damian Harris is obviously available. He's still the secondary to Ramondre Stevenson. I think he's over-owned. So if you want to utilize the value of a big name, you could utilize Damian Harris. Got involved enough in the passing game to actually end up having double-digit performance last week. Taysom Hill is a name. Somebody who has rushing upside, even though he's a tight end. It sounds cool, but he's not getting that PPR production that we want. Swavey's asking, do we think that Drake London's production may go up if they switch to the rookie in Atlanta? So Desmond Ridder, are they doing that? Desmond Ridder is extremely mobile. I could see it being like a Malik Willis situation. He's got an arm. Out of Cincinnati, that was a great story. That team just making the college football playoff in general. It's tough to say. Drake London still has production, and I think, even in that deal, I would still take him over Michael Carter, even if they don't go to Desmond Ridder. They're 5-6 in Atlanta right now. I'm not sure they're going to make the quarterback change. If they were 3-8, they probably would. But they are very much in the NFC South right now because it is so god-awful. So, if we look... And this is mostly because Kyle Pitts has been hurt, and now Kyle Pitts is on the IR. And Drake London is their leading target. Catch percentage is way better. Kyle Pitts having a 47% catch percentage is something I just cannot fathom. Zacchaeus is an enticing one. Lots of explosive plays. Doesn't get nearly the amount of targets as Kyle Pitts. Excuse me. But 31 targets to Kyle Pitts' 59, yet he only has 3 less receptions. That just shows the lack of connection between Marcus Mariota and Kyle Pitts. The wide receiver, too, is Zacchaeus. It's hard to say who Desmond Ridder would go after. It's a run-heavy offense already. And when you have a run-heavy offense and you have somebody coming in, typically you want to make them comfortable, and you're going to hand it off to your Cordero Patterson, your Tyler Algier, your Caleb Huntley, your Avery Williams. It's going to be a run-heavy offense to begin with. I anticipate they would use his athleticism as well. I don't see a lot of deep balls going, but we haven't seen much of Desmond Ridder in a professional uniform yet. We don't know how he's going to adapt. But anytime it's a run-heavy offense and we have a new quarterback coming in, I expect them to lean into that identity, but it's very hard to project Swavey, so we'd have to see. Eric says, I have T-Law starting right now, but I have Deshaun Watson stashed. Should I start Deshaun when he comes back? Not right when he comes back. Maybe he'll end up doing really well in a couple weeks. Eric, this is a guy who hasn't played football in 2 years. I'm not sure that Kevin Stefanski gives him a ton of volume right away because he's going to have some rust to shake off, and it's a run-heavy offense anyway with them using Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, the best running back duo out there right now. B, it's rust in general. Will he produce if he gets the volume? We not only need Kevin Stefanski to let Deshaun Watson throw the ball a ton, let him get outside of the pocket and use his athleticism. We need him to actually prove very early, because he's coming in week 13, but he is fantasy worthy because our playoffs are coming up in week 15, 16, 17, 18, right? I don't think he produces right away. I think there's going to be some rust there. Even if it's a week or two, I would not want to start somebody who hasn't played football in 2 years, assuming the fact that he's going to get high volume and produce under high volume after not playing the game in a professional tempo for 2 years. I mean, you can simulate as much as you want in practice. Scrimmages, preseason, you hear it all the time. An NFL regular season game is a completely different story. So give him a week or two, Eric. Kevin Valentine, any moves you would make with this roster? 7-4, and I'm third in my 12-man league. Good stuff, man. Full PPR. My quarterbacks are TB12 and Deshaun. Running backs are Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, Jeff Wilson Jr., Isaiah Pacheco, Rashad White. Wide receivers are T. Higgins, Chris Olave, George Pickens, Brandon Cooks, Elijah Moore. Tight ends, Schultz, and Waller. We could drop Waller. Even when he was playing, he was not that productive. Relative to the rest of the tight end market, he was okay. Schultz is that too. So, Kevin, I know you're probably trying to make a push for second, maybe try and get a bye. Excuse me. If we are looking here, Kevin, maybe we try and upgrade at quarterback. Deshaun, we don't know. TB12 has been literally mid. He's been like wide receiver 15 for the longest, or quarterback 15 for the longest time. Kamara, Jones, and Wilson Jr. and Pacheco is fine. Olave, Pickens, Cooks, more. This is 12 team. You could try and do a little home run hitter here and combine an Elijah Moore with a Brandon Cooks before Cooks truly relinquishes that wide receiver 1 role to Nico Collins, and you could try and go out and get a Chris Godwin. Otherwise, and then you could stack them with Tom Brady. Otherwise, I think you're fine, Kevin. You have a very deep lineup. You don't have anybody who's going to put up 40 other than Kamara, but you have plenty of players who are going to get you a consistent 10 to 15, and that's what we want. So I'm okay with it. Maybe we play with Pickens and Cooks and Elijah Moore, some combination of those three, take 2, and try and get like a Mike Evans or a Chris Godwin level player. Both of those guys get equal amount of usage in that Bucs offense, which I just love. It's the most pass-heavy offense in the league. And they're pretty productive with it, despite the fact the team is only 5-5. He just said he would replace Drake London with Tyler Lockett. Big W. Look at the passing offense of the Seattle Seahawks. Swavey, my reluctancy with Drake London was spurred by this. I love to look at run-pass splits. Atlanta runs the ball more than anybody else in the league. That's not Chicago, which was using Justin Fields, David Montgomery, and Khalil Herbert. Montgomery, by the way, value up. The other two are out. Well, maybe Justin Fields is out. Even if he's back, and I doubt they're going to put him in harm's way and run him a ton. But who knows? Then you look over at Seattle. We have a team that's middle of the pack. They are passing the ball 56% of the time in comparison to Atlanta, who passes it 15% less. That's more opportunity for Tyler Lockett. Yes, Swavey, let's replace Drake London with Tyler Lockett. Absolutely. So then we would have Mahomes, Lockett, and Cordero for Lamar, Higgins, and Wilson. That is a W, especially with T. Higgins' value going down with Jamar Chase coming back very soon. XM Tucci. We have Marco. Welcome back. What should I do to improve my team? We have Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, monitor that injury. I think Lawrence is a great backup running back. Backup quarterback, excuse me. I see so many people calling Justin Fields a running back that it just spurred into my head. We have Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Cordero Patterson, Tyler Algier, Stephon Diggs, Chris Olave, Darius Slayton, Jarvis Landry, and then we got Ben Skro. Okay. What should I do to improve my team? I think you're fine in the running backs because you've got Patterson and Kamara. Maybe you do an Algier and Zeke and you try and go after a Dalvin Cook. Not sure you'll get it, but Diggs, Olave, Slayton, Landry, Skro. And again, you could do Landry and Skro for, you'd need somebody lower. Maybe for like an Adam Thielen. Again, we're really stretching here. Maybe Slayton and Landry would be Adam Thielen. Wide receiver 2 on a pass-heavy offense. That does pretty well. I'm in a playoff push. I think our areas of improvement here, as long as Fields is healthy, would be your running back depth. Try and go get another big one like Dalvin Cook, and then you got Kamara, Cook, and Patterson. That would be ideal. And then I think wide receivers are fine. Knox could be better. We could try and go out and get a Juwan Johnson, who is I think he is owned in less than half of leagues. So, Marco, if you can go get a Juwan Johnson off the waivers, you don't have to make a trade. Otherwise, running back depth beyond Kamara and Patterson are of slight concern to me. And then wide receiver 3, I'd be looking around. And maybe tight end. But you have a solid team. You definitely do. Brian says, I'm jealous of Swavey, 9-2. A bunch of teams in my league are either 5-6 or 6-5. Little movement in between the teams. I've got a 3-way tie at the top of my league with 8-3, and I'm in it right now. So I know what you mean, Brian. Those condensed spots get very very close in leagues. Swavey, next closest in my league is 6-5. So you've just got a comfortable 3-game lead. Kevin Valentine. Personally, I'm a huge Godwin guy over Big Mike. Kevin, I agree. Let's look here. Yes, Mike Evans does have a little bit of an advantage in terms of target usage, but if you look, he's not on the field for nearly as many snaps as, Chris Godwin is not on the field for nearly as many snaps as Mike Evans. Chris Godwin has a slightly better catch rate. He's just not going for the big plays, but technically, Chris Godwin is getting more volume. If you go receptions divided by, actually it'd be snaps divided by receptions, you're going to have Chris Godwin getting the ball more often. It helps that Russell Gage is hurt. I'm a big Godwin guy too in terms of volume. Who had said that? Yeah, Kevin. Especially in PPR when we want a couple more catches, you're going to get that out of Chris Godwin. And actually, if we look, it's pretty close between the two. Godwin is leading the last 3 games by 1 target. So 29-28 still, both averaging nearly 10 targets a game. It's a great 1-2 punch, but I like Godwin over Mike in terms of volume as well, Kevin. We're going to get a little bit more red zone upside with Mike Evans. He's got the bigger stature. He's got the bigger frame. That is why he is a more enticing red zone target for Tom Brady. That's why he goes with them. Nonetheless, that's what I'm thinking there. George, welcome to the stream, man. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you get value out of what I end up saying for your comments. Happy Thanksgiving, good sir. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. How would you rank these? It's going to be Cordero Patterson, Deontay Foreman. Oh, Pirine, assuming Nick Mixon is out this weekend. Fun fact, Pirine actually broke Melvin Gordon, who just got cut, broke his college record for single-season rushing yards in the game. I was watching that Wisconsin game. I am in Wisconsin. That's where I'm streaming from. And literally like a week later, Pirine breaks it. So Pirine going up against the Titans. And Cordero Patterson, Deontay Foreman. Foreman going up against the Broncos team. That's going to be pretty tough. Patterson going up against the Commanders. Let's go straight up strength of opposition here. Patterson going against the... Oh, can I spell? There we go. Okay, so Washington allowing 4.2. P. Ryan going up against the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee has one of the best rushing defenses in the league. And then Foreman going up against the Broncos. Solid secondary, but they're not very good in terms of their run defense. Sheer volume, I'm still going to give Patterson the nod, and then I'm going to go Foreman. And then even if P. Ryan starts, George, I'm probably still going to go actually in the order that you listed them, due to usage and due to matchups. With Foreman having the best matchup against the Broncos, I think he'll be up there. Foreman and Patterson could go hand in hand, but I think P. Ryan's definitely third, even if Mixon's out. Especially, there's a lot of factors here, George, with Jamar Chase possibly coming back. That's another thing we have to consider, where more of the touches go to a top 5 wide receiver, in my opinion, when he is healthy. Kevin Valentine says, somebody dropped A.J. Dillon. I might scoop him for Waller to be Aaron Jones's handcuff. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Be aware, Kevin, and you probably already are. So many injuries. Allen Lazard, Romeo Doubs, Randall Cobb. Aaron Jones possibly out this week. A.J. Dillon just isn't as efficient as Aaron Jones. He's been a little better as of late. 4 yards a carry. Not as involved in the pass game as he was last year relative to Aaron Jones. It was more closer to 55-45, and now with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, as you can see with the touches, it's closer to like a 60-40. Obviously, that is splitting hairs. But nonetheless, that's our situation there. Swavey, I got Tyreek Hill by packaging Fields last week, coming off this hot streak, and kept Lamar. That's all we want to do, is we want to ride hot streaks. I was probably going to trade away Fields in some leagues if I had a solid QB1 to begin with, because he does have the Jets coming up. He has the Bills coming up. He has matchups that I am just not a big fan of in terms of the defense and how much they'd be able to contain him. Now we have Fields being fatigued anyway, and even if he does play, we're probably not going to see as many designed runs. Nice job, Swavey. That's why you're 9-2. You're making decisions like that. George, also, would you prioritize Kieran Williams over Cam Akers? It's tough to say with snap count percentage, but if we look at Kieran Williams' productivity, the Rams are just looking for an answer anywhere. Matt Stafford might be hurt now to the point where he can't play. Cooper Kupp is out. Tyler Higbee was hurt. Darrell Henderson got cut. Top 3 are literally hurt. Allen Robinson might be hurt too, so it might be a big Ben Skro week. Or Ben Sko week, excuse me. Maybe we have such a small we have such a small sample size when we're talking about Williams, but technically he does have the best yards per carry average, and my goodness, if he can just average 4 yards a carry, he'll be way better than Cam Akers. Obviously, that freaking offensive line is horrible too. But in his limited amount of snaps, Kieran Williams has already had more receptions than Cam Akers, so maybe we give Kieran Williams the time of day. The Rams are not going to let anybody just secure their spot. We have to understand that. It's with how Cam Akers has been performing. We obviously just saw Darrell Henderson get cut. Kieran Williams is definitely going to get some more looks. So I'd go Kieran Williams over A.J. Dillon. Oh, sorry. But yeah, I went down and answered another one by accident. Swavey, I would do that as well. Things are really going to open up for him. And then to the question I was originally answering, and George, Kieran Williams over Cam Akers, I would say so. If we've got a deep running back class, if we've got a deep running back room on our fantasy football team, let's just stash him for now. I think he has more upside. Swavey says I packaged Fields, Kenneth Walker III, and DeAndre Swift, and Michael Pittman for Tyreek Hill, Rashad White, and Dameon Pierce. You've got a juggernaut in Pierce. You've got a juggernaut in Tyreek Hill. Fields, if you've got the depth at quarterback, it doesn't really hurt you. Kenneth Walker, that's a hit. DeAndre Swift being filed out. Pittman going through quarterbacks left and right. Obviously, it's Sam Ehlinger, and then it's Matt Ryan. So I like that for you, Swavey. You're getting the home run hit, and you had enough depth to be able to give up a guy of Kenneth Walker III's caliber. The other guy's decreasing in value, as I just mentioned. Jim896, welcome to the stream. Hopefully you're getting some value out of all of these analyses. If you get value out of my analyses of your comment, make sure that you leave a like and subscribe. I picked up DeMarcus Robinson, off of the Ravens. I am in a deep 12-man PPR. Do I start him over Tyler Boyd or Allen Lazard? If Allen Lazard is healthy, as silly as it seems, The Packers are probably, they're going to lean run, but if they lose by a decent amount, game script-wise, I always talk about this, they're down by a few possessions, they're going to have to start throwing the ball a decent amount. So, Boyd, you'd probably start Demarcus Robinson over Boyd if Jamar Chase came back. Even so, it'd be pretty close. Over Lazard, probably not. So I'm still going to keep Demarcus Robinson on the bench and leave it between Boyd and Lazard. That's for Jim. Kevin Wilson Jr. looking like my waiver wire move of the year. Yeah, with the usage he's been getting, Raheem Mostert was actually able to get a decent amount of usage before. I was talking about this probably 30 minutes before this. But Jeff Wilson Jr. had nearly his best game of the year. So outbidded so many people by $1 at 27, so many 25 and 26 bids. So you got him right at the value that you wanted him for. Didn't have to blow anybody out of the water. Good stuff. Swavey says A.J. Dillon or Kieran Williams probably going to drop. Samaje Perine. Yeah, I'm going to go Kieran Williams because I feel like there's going to be a bigger chunk. Look, who has their running back one spot more locked in? Are we talking about Cam Akers, who just got thrusted into the running back one role because somebody else who wasn't producing and Darrell Henderson just got cut? Or are we going to talk about Aaron Jones, who's averaging over 5 yards a carry and is a prominent part of the passing offense as well? I'm going to say Aaron Jones has more job security right now than Cam Akers. Kieran Williams, averaging 5.6 yards a carry in that very small sample size if we go right here. I'm going to go Kieran Williams over A.J. Dillon. I think we've got some upside there. It can only get better from what we've seen from Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson. John Doe, welcome back, man. What's up, Corey? Like many on here, always looking to improve my team. I'm thinking about acquiring Brandon Ayuk. Oh, yeah. I have these guys on my block. A.J. Brown, James Conner, Greg Dulcich, and Evan Ingram. We could try Conner and Dulcich and work our way up from there. You may have to go Brown and Ingram. Oh, wait a minute. For Brandon Ayuk, excuse me. I got my names mixed up. Yeah, I wouldn't give up Brown for Ayuk straight up even because I feel like Brown's been getting more usage. Ayuk has been good down the stretch, but they're both run-heavy offenses, and Brown, in my opinion, is a top 10 wide receiver week in and week out. Not top 5. I'll pump the brakes there. John Doe, I have Njoku as my main tight end, but if it helps improve my team to get Ayuk, I wouldn't mind pulling the trigger. Maybe Njoku and Connor. That may be what some consider to be a fair trade. But I would keep A.J. Brown off your block because, in my opinion, I wouldn't even give up A.J. Brown straight up for Brandon Ayuk. Kevin Valentine, there is no way McVay doesn't jump ship after this year, right? Hot take, Green Bay beats Philly this week. So here's my thing, Kevin. On the first one, McVay, with all the injuries, maybe he'll get out alive, but I think McVay may leave and go somewhere else. It might be the you can't fire me, I quit situation. Cooper Kupp gets hurt, but even when the offense was completely healthy, like everyone was in there, both running backs and Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson, like this offense could not get anything going. Everybody just figured him out. The Rams had a target on their back after winning the Super Bowl. I have not seen this sharp of a drop-off from a Super Bowl winning team in a while. So he could jump ship. I'm not sure. I'm not going to say there's no way he doesn't, but if they don't turn it around and be 500, which they're probably not going to, yeah. Hot take, Green Bay beats Philly this week. Green Bay is a phenomenal running team. They've been leaning on it, especially with the lack of identity at the wide receiver one spot. They might have something going on with Christian Watson having 5 touchdowns in the last 2 games. But Kevin, if they can run it through Aaron Jones is going to have a great week. Now, if the Eagles keep it a game and then actually end up being up 2 to 3 possessions, and that's how they've been able to beat a lot of teams, and take Green Bay's running game out of it and force their hand, force them to pass, then it's not going to happen. But if Green Bay can beat Philly, Aaron Jones is going to have a ball. It's a weak defense in Philadelphia. I like it a lot. If that can happen. Or a balanced attack in a close game, right? Eric says, so happy I picked up Freiermuth early this season off my waivers. Yeah, Freiermuth, especially with Chase Claypool leaving. Yes, it's a young quarterback in Kenny Pickett, but it's a throw-heavy offense and a team that loses a lot. I like Freiermuth a ton. Cadillac, welcome back. Kind of debating between which running backs to start, Connor or Wilson. Connor has the guaranteed volume, but Wilson has the great matchup. Wilson has volume too, Cadillac. If we look from last week, yeah, Connor's a big body, but Connor is so inefficient. He is very touchdown reliant. Make sure you guys like and subscribe if you're enjoying the live stream. I do this 2 to 3. This is my 4th time this week, so you're going to get a lot of volume in terms of that. I'm on here 4 to 5 hours a week answering your fantasy football questions. Today was 6 waiver wire ads you need to do ahead of the start of week 12, which is tomorrow. Happy early Thanksgiving, everybody. And then I have players that you should drop or sell off of your team going into the beginning of the Sunday slate. So that live stream will be up either Friday or Saturday night. So you get those live streams. You get some live streams right ahead of kickoff. I've been doing those on Sunday the last couple of weeks. And you get YouTube shorts with informative content pretty much every day of the week. And always comment in any of my videos. Comment in the most recent one, the first one, I don't care. I'll get the notification. I will answer every single one of your questions regarding fantasy football. I'll send you links. I will back up what I am saying with said links. If I'm talking about target usage, if I'm talking about strength of opposition for a certain running back and they're going up against a team like the Bills or the Jets, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't do that. And I'll send you a link as to why. All of that good stuff. That's what you're going to get from me here. This is a service. I consider myself somebody who's just going to give you as much information at the ready as I possibly can. Put as much information in front of you as possible so that you have the best chance to win over your opponent. I'm going to help you out-research your opponent. James Conner is extremely inefficient. 3.7 yards a carry. Yes, he's got that bigger body. Jeff Wilson is getting volume. I would go with Jeff Wilson. Let's go here. Especially this week. I think that team wins by a handful. I like the Dolphins a lot more than the Texans. They're going up against the Texans team, giving up about 5 yards per carry. Jeff Wilson, 5.4 yards a carry and decent volume. And look what he did last week. 17 rushes, 119 yards. Decently involved. I like the 5 targets. That was a season high. I love Jeff Wilson. He's way more productive, and he gets way more usage. Okay, so then we would actually think. It's about the same usage. I know Connor's going to give it volume, but Connor is not nearly as efficient. John Doe, it's probably because I don't watch football as much, but why is Josh Allen considered the best QB if he doesn't put up 30-plus points like before? Yeah, John Doe, it's because he's got the element of the big arm. It's because he can put his shoulder down, and he can also juke people in the open field. People are considering Josh Allen a jack of all trades. You also have the fact that he has Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, Isaiah McKenzie, Dawson Knox, a pass-catching running back in Devin Singletary, an offensive scheme, and a head coach in Doug McDermott who just loves to air the ball out even when the team is up 14 late in the game. It's just a match made in heaven. So, John, it's just the fact that he can do it all attribute-wise. But fantasy QB-wise, he does have his down days, and he has plenty of interceptions this year. What did Cadillac say? Big body, strong arm, rushing upside, and has the best players around him. There you go. There you go. So how do you feel about Christian Watson or Pirine? I'm going to go Christian Watson, George. The Packers are floundering for an answer right now. Dobbs is down. Cobb is down. Lazard might be down. Christian Watson has 5 touchdowns in the last 2 games. Let's go Christian Watson flex. Kevin says, guys, hit that like button. Yes, hit that like button. Very thankful for all 264 subscribers coming into this stream. I'm always surprised after the stream. I don't check my subscribers during, but if you guys can leave a like, hit that subscribe button, doing everything I can to put the information that I feel needs to be put in front of you to give you the best chance to win. Swavey, damn, man, I'm having a hard time picking up Kieran over A.J. Dillon. If Aaron Jones gets hurt, that is completely different. AJ is the clear number 1. To be fair, I've had him most of the year, and he doesn't look great when he gets the ball. Just looking for playoff upside, if anything, or trade value for next week. If you're looking for performance this week, I'd probably go AJ Dillon because Aaron Jones might be out. If you're looking for something down the road and more upside in general, we've seen what AJ Dillon can do when he has an increased role. They've dialed it back now. Aaron Jones is performing way better on the ground and in the air. This is for Swaby. But ultimately, I think there's a lot more room for Kieran Williams to operate behind a guy in Cam Akers who has 3.1 yards per carry. If Williams breaks one big one loose, the game script would could completely form around him. Keep in mind, Kieran Williams has barely had any snaps this year. He's been in for about 50 snaps. He has more receptions than Cam Akers, who has been the running back 1B all year. So just going to put that out there. Up to you, though. John Doe, are there any receivers you would consider going after in pass-heavy schemes? Pass-heavy schemes, no. Donovan Peoples-Jones, yes. That's one I love. Actually, John, let's go here. I just want to check the ownership percentage before I just tell you to go grab somebody because he might not even be available. This is a deep pickup. Would not suggest this in 8 or 10 team leagues. Maybe bench in a 10-team league, but anything beyond that, let's go with it. DeAndre Carter has had a decent amount of usage, and it's because of the revolving door of an offense that is the Chargers. We've got a couple nice performances here. Otherwise, it was Joshua Palmer, man. But Joshua Palmer has been snuffed out. He is leading the league in He is leading his team in targets right now because of the injuries of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Joshua Palmer was definitely one that was up there, especially after that game he had against the Kansas City secondary, which he doesn't get to play against anymore. He's had 2 games against him now. Otherwise, pass-heavy schemes. I mean, I think the Chargers right away. Kadarius Toney was one, but now he is hurt. If he's available, you could still go after him. You're just not going to get the production this week. A pass-heavy scheme. A team that runs more plays than anybody else is the Cardinals and Rondale Moore, but he is rostered by way too many people. Treylon Burks isn't a very run-heavy scheme, but he had a career day, albeit he is a rookie. Yeah, I mean, I can't say there's a ton out there. Zay Jones is a deep pickup I would look for. Trevor Lawrence loves to spread the ball around. Zay Jones is very enticing. 10.8 points a game. It's spotty. He only has 4 double-digit performances, but he's had 1 week that he's missed already, so we're looking at a 4-for-9 situation. I think Zay Jones, if we're digging really deep. Otherwise, when Russell Gage comes back and is healthy, we can go Russell Gage. So Zay Jones, Russell Gage, DeAndre Carter. Let's go with those. Those guys are owned in way less than half of leagues. So that's for John Doe. Kevin Valentine. I saw Sean Payton would go to Arizona or the Chargers if head coaching spot opens. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Staley and the Chargers. Did not make the playoffs last year despite having all the talent in the world. Now they go out and they bolster the defense with Khalil Mack, with J.C. Jackson. They've already got Derwin out there. I'm very curious to see what happens. If Sean Payton jumps in there, that'd be interesting. You know, had a guy in Drew Brees who wasn't as athletic as Justin Herbert, but didn't throw it down the field as much either, but it's still an exciting offensive scheme with many different pieces. I could see that for sure. If we think Kingsbury has his job on the hot seat, that'd be interesting too, an athletic quarterback like Kyler. Kevin says 0% chance Aaron Jones doesn't play this week. He's had that injury the past few weeks on the injury report. That's something I do a lot. I track the injury report because, like, with Keenan Allen, he's been questionable middle of the week for the last, month and a half, and he's been out every single time. And I'm like, okay, at this point, he should have been on the IR, but came back this week and did well. So, yeah, if we got to check the amount of participation in practice. If somebody's limited going into Friday or Saturday, I'm pretty worried about it. So we'd have to track that with Aaron Jones. Percent chance Joe Mixon plays this week, you think? Swavey, judging by what I saw, I don't want to be your primary resource for that. I'm not at camp talking to him. So I would just go into his profile, check the update. It says he's questionable. Did not practice Wednesday due to the concussion. Keep in mind the status of the NFL with concussion protocol after the Tua Tagovailoa situation. I would say more likely than not that he doesn't play, but don't base that off me. Make sure, see, there's the report right there. Make sure you keep monitoring this into Thursday morning. If it's somebody you have to decide, like, oh, I want to play somebody else over him that's playing on Thursday. If it's Pirine, you can wait, right? You can wait, but I'm not sure. Swavey, he hasn't practiced yet, and with concussion protocol, I would lean no, but there's no way to tell this early in the week. Cadillac, 8-man, there's Rashad White and DJ Moore on the waivers because somebody dropped him. Who do you think has more potential? Rashad White hasn't been too productive, and Rashad White's going to get the running back 1 spot, and he had a nice week, but he's still only averaging 3.7 yards a carry on the year. He is going to be involved in the pass scheme with Tom Brady. The Bucs pass more than anybody else in the league. So there's that. DJ Moore, yes, he is the wide receiver 1 on a losing team. Game script-wise, they're going to throw the ball a lot. We have gone from P.J. Walker to Baker Mayfield to Sam Darnold. I'm going to go with Rashad White, Cadillac, not by much, but I think that Rashad White has the pass-catching upside, and DJ Moore is flipping through quarterbacks. We don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they'll like Terrace Marshall Jr. for all we know. Wait for him to respond. He knows more than me. Swavey, I'm just doing my research, man, but I'm going to go Rashad White. I'm going to agree with you, Swavey, because of the pass-catching upside and because of the fact that DJ Moore is going through a ton of different quarterbacks throwing him the ball. Who knows what they'll like? Who knows what's going on in Carolina? We know what we've got with Rashad White, and that's somebody who's probably going to take over the running back 1 spot because he's been more efficient, and Leonard Fournette is hurt. Brian Pereira, I know you said Philly is going to play a stingy Green Bay defense. I'll probably still roll with A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, and Christian Watson as my flex. I feel like I may fall for the Olave hype. Excuse me, Brian. Chris Olave's hype, I would say, is pretty warranted, if I'm being honest. But Olave has a very tough matchup this week, too. Chris Olave is about as consistent as they come, man. 16 points. He had the 7 points before that. No touchdowns here. We've got 13, 10, 17. Then with touchdowns, we've got 15, 17, 23, 13. This guy has only failed to score. There he is. Yep. This guy's only failed to score. Talking about Chris Olave in the double digits on 2 occasions this year. So, I like Olave, but with his matchup this week against the 49ers, I'm okay with A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, and Christian Watson. A.J. Brown's a big guy. I could see him handling Jair Alexander or Eric Stokes pretty well. So, folks, if that's all you got, and if you have more, that's fine. Make sure you drop those comments. Oh, George, how do you feel about Miami's defense against Kyle Allen this week? Yeah, the Texans, they're one of those teams. If we look here, let's see. I'll make sure I get all your guys' questions answered. I don't want to dip on you. I mean, Houston is quite literally one of the worst defenses in the league, and now we are talking about a change of quarterback. Davis Mills with plenty of interceptions. Maybe Bryce Young's going there. Who knows, right? Miami defense should be fine. I'd be worried about Dameon Pierce doing well, but Miami's defense, in terms of their rush defense, let's look. Miami allowing 4.6 yards a carry. That'd be my only worry, but I don't see that team. Even with how well Dameon Pierce has been doing, Houston's still putting up 15 points per game, and they have a new guy in at quarterback, which screams, I'm going to run the ball more and appeal to my checkdowns. I don't think Kyle Allen is going to throw the ball 40 times, but who knows? So I would see a more conservative game-style approach. Time of possession is probably going to get eaten up, especially if the Dolphins get more balanced and start to run the ball more in the second half. I like the Miami defense stream against Kyle Allen and the Texans this week, George. Hope that helps. Kevin Olave, close to top 10 wide receiver in PPR, and he missed a game this year and missed half a game with a concussion. Yeah, I think Olave is one of the most consistent guys out there. Bryce Young to Detroit, and I'm all aboard that bandwagon. Yeah, Bryce Young and Jameson Williams again. Swavey, thoughts on ETN? One second, sorry. I'm Xing out of like my 4 billion tabs. People are saying he's the faster Alvin Kamara. He's not as involved in the passing game over the course of this small sample size as Alvin Kamara has been at certain segments, but I think ETN's one of the best running backs out there right now. One of the best young running backs. We've been blessed to see him and Kenneth Walker III do phenomenal. Yards after contact is phenomenal. His ability out in the flat when he's running those Texas and angle routes as well to go out there and do Trevor Lawrence a solid and be another pass catcher for him has been great. Travis Etienne has some of the best upside I've ever seen. I thought it was weird when they got him after James Robinson had 1,000 yards in his rookie season. I understand why now. And then they shipped James Robinson off. I understand why now. They are, they struck gold with Travis Etienne. So I think he's a top 10 running back, Swavey. Kevin Valentine says, thanks for all the insight tonight, boss. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys. Make sure you spread the word about this channel to your friends, your family, anybody who loves fantasy football, anybody who loves football in general. I'll talk more about football in general in the offseason. I've had a couple of questions about what I'm going to do in regards to fantasy football once the season's over. I'll go over some playoff props. I'll go over some playoff fantasy leagues. Some people do the option where they go in a big pool and they're trying to finish in the top 10% or something like that for some money. I'll go over some of my favorites once we have the playoff slate. Following that, I've got a ton of ideas. I'm grading guys at each position. I'm talking about people who shocked us, contracts, 5 quarterbacks that you should draft in the next 5 years, looking at the next generation. I will do that with running backs. I will do that with wide receivers. I will do that with tight ends. So I have plenty of content, and then before you guys know it, it'll be the 2023-24 season, and we'll be doing some early mock drafts again. We'll be doing Dynasty League. We'll be doing all this stuff. So make sure you like and subscribe. I'm not going anywhere, football season or not. We're doing fantasy football 12 months out of the year. Plenty of off-season content planned. Plenty of in-depth research, and Eric's saying he appreciates that. I appreciate you, Eric. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family, and we will see you in the next live stream this weekend.